All right. We up and running here. Looking good. Looking good. A little bit late to start tonight, apparently. What is up with that? All right. Well, for those of you that don't know, on the agenda for this evening are a number of different things, which is why we are here. So let's go ahead and grab that agenda for us and have a look. Which one is it? I mean, can I just say that it's ridiculous that they still have this idiotic land acknowledgement on here? I mean, we need to stop saying unceded. Like, I mean, this has got to stop. So tonight, and one of the primary reasons I'm here is to speak to the revised timing for the zoning bylaw rewrite. Staff has asked for another year to get this done, and that just means it's another year of waiting and being in limbo and not knowing what we can or can't do. And that is some, in my world, absolute horse malarkey. So we need to move forward. People need to have some certainty. We need to get things moving and rocking and rolling. So we've got on the agenda for tonight tax rates. Not sure what that's going to be about. We'll learn about that together. I didn't get into the details of that. There's something about a OCP amendment and rezoning application for a property on Hunter Street. And then there's a revised timing for the zoning bylaw rewrite project, which is what I'm talking about, what I am here for, which is 8.3. And basically what that's about is giving people some actual factual, tangible direction as to what they can and can't build on their property for the foreseeable future. And I think the problem is that when we allow things to just drag on and we don't have any sort of firm understanding of the path forward, it just makes everybody's life really, really miserable. So
all right.
Oh, here we go. 7 minutes late, but
This is our
got to late the
community's
number.
house. We're all guests in it here to serve it. My name is Mike Little, Mayor of the District North Vancouver. So the pleasure falls to me to welcome you all here to our regular meeting of council for Monday, May 4th at 7 o'clock. Council, we have an agenda that's been circulated. Any errors or omissions from the agenda is presented? Hearing none, will someone move its adoption? Moved
Um,
by Councillor Forbes, second by Councillor Mott. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. I would like to start off in a good way. Councillor Murray has offered to read a land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Little. We respectfully acknowledge the original peoples of these lands and waters, specifically the
I
Tsleil-Waututh,
gotta
Squamish, and
mute
Musqueam.
that. Won't play it. No, no.
Minutes that have been circulated from the April 13th regular meeting of council. Are there any errors or omissions from those meeting minutes as presented? You want to move it or you have an error? Okay, seeing that there's no errors or omissions, it's been moved by Councillor Back, second by Councillor Mott. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. And so the April 13th regular council meeting minutes are now adopted. At the front end of every regular meeting of council, we preserve a period of up to 30 minutes to hear issues of concern from members of our community. We do have a sign-up sheet that we start
Surprised
with
there's not more
ahead of
people.
time for people who have let themselves be known to the counselor, or sorry, to the clerk. And so I do have 5 people who are signed up to speak at the front end and 1 person who signed up to speak at one of the items. And so we should be able to take some additional speakers if there is interest at the time we've gone through the list. So at this point, I'm going to invite Jarrett Wall. Welcome, please, either or.
Is there a timer that I can see?
It'll pop up in a moment when you're good. But welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Great. Yeah, my name's Jarrett Wall. I've spoke with a number of councillors already, and thank you for having me here this evening. Just want to say what I see a lot when I've watched some of the meetings recently. I'm a homeowner. I'll back up. I'm a homeowner in the Parkgate Indian River area. I have a young family, goes to school, Dorothy Linus, and my wife and I have a business at Parkgate Village. And I'm here to speak about item 8.3, the single family zoning bylaw rewrite possible delay. And I wish to say, please support option 2, which is delaying it, not delaying it. And yeah, when I was speaking to some councillors, I was encouraged to be sharing my story. So I'm not a developer, I'm not someone that special, but I'm a local homeowner. I'm a hockey coach, a mountain bike coach, a soccer coach, volunteer at our church, business owner, and a person that's nearby. And I was encouraged to share a bit of our story. And so why I want to speak to this is because we're trying to consolidate with my family. Since we're on YouTube, I kind of did some blocking out, but this is just us off the boat launch at Kate's Park. And this is a picture of us trying to do multi-generational living. And we went to the open house about a year ago and last fall. The one that my kids said, oh yeah, they gave bubbly water and some coloring sheets. We said, yeah, that's pretty cool. And so we saw some of these examples of some options to have different types of living, of course, higher houses. Secondly, living in the front where that garage may or may not exist. And thirdly, larger coach home out back. And as a result, there was some feedback. The staff were lovely, and I see a lot of really great thinking and critical thinking taking place. And I'm grateful for that. But what the feedback I gave right away was, well, the thing I like the most is the permit app. Sorry, I'm going through my own papers here, given Exhibit A and B. And the thing I like the most is actually simplifying and streamlining the regulations and the results. My business is about process optimization in small businesses. So excuse me if that's an interest, but I think that's the most efficient thing to be doing is, I think, which is basically related to Dapper, is that can we have more clarity on what you can build and how you can build, and we can help people and processes migrate well together and make the most of our time and efforts. The second thing, of course, is some flexible living options that I hope we can have related to my family. And lastly, in terms of timing, is that I'm worried that after an election and waiting for another year, that this may not be picked up in the same way or the same fashion, and I would hope that it could. And it seems there's been a lot of good work done, and I would encourage option 2, which allows implementation of what's already been done without undue delay. And yeah, thank you for your time. I think you're doing quite a good job. So thanks.
Thank you for your comments, Jarrett Wall. The next speaker I have is Eric Jensen. Eric's usually virtual. Do we have
Recording in progress.
Hi,
Hopefully I'm
Eric,
there.
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You're coming in really quietly. Can I have you lean right into the microphone, please?
I will eat this microphone if that's better. I can also turn.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Welcome.
Is
You
that
have 3
better?
minutes to address the council.
Doesn't look like you guys can see me though.
We actually can, but you're in a very small corner of like a picture in a picture,
Oh.
but we can see you. Yeah,
Fair enough.
there we go. Look at that. You're full screen.
There you go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lovely to see everybody. As always, I am here to speak on item 8.3. We are at a crossroads between administrative convenience and the real world needs of our residents. Staff is recommending a 12-month delay, but our families, this is just not a calendar change. It's another year of life on hold. It's a year of parents getting older while waiting to build a suite for support, and another year of young families being priced out of their own community and their children getting older as well. People need to know the rules of engagement for their property. Please, we need to know. And we need to know them now. I want to explicitly commend staff because the R2 Urban Detached Zone Draft is exactly what we've asked for. It is simple and it is straightforward. For the first time in a generation, we have a code that makes sense. It removes the black box of basement incentives and focuses on above ground living. This draft uses clear tables and logical formulas that will slash the number of variances that currently clog our system. This is high value work and it is shelf ready. Staff argues we cannot split residential from commercial, but I respectfully disagree. The complexity of managing 2 bylaws is a small price to pay for the economic certainty of our residents. We have a provincial mandate to modernize by June 30th, 2026. And by choosing option 2, advancing residential zones now, we hopefully will meet that legal deadline. We give our homeowners the green light they've been waiting for. Do not hold our residents hostage to the timeline of a garden center or neighborhood pub zone. Reward the good work already done on the R2 zone and put it into practice. Stop the delay. Give our community certainty and support the phased approach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments, Eric Jensen. Okay, the next speaker I have is Carrie Wharton, joining us here in person. You have 3 minutes to
Recording in
address the
progress.
council.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to speak today. I'm Carrie Wharton, Vice President of University Relations at Capilano University, and I'm here to share the university's very strong support for the student-focused housing building on Hunter Street that's being put forward by Forum. We're very excited this year that we at the university are going to open our very first student residence with 362 beds, but this residence is focused on first-year students only, which means that our second, third, and fourth-year students will be relying on the broader housing market for housing. I can also share that over 60% of our students do commute up to
It's fairly typical in most university towns to only house first year, for the record.
and you can imagine the impact that has on their academic success and also their health and well-being. We know through our conversations with provincial and federal government, we are not going to see any additional money to build additional student housing in the near future. Therefore, relationships that we're developing with very experienced developers that focus on student housing specifically, like Forum, aren't just really helpful to us, they're actually quite essential for us. We find the work that we've done with them over the last 2.5 years, they're presenting a very thoughtful approach to how we can meet an extremely important need that our students have. A lot of people don't realize that while students get in first year housing, and this is at every university, they then have to find a new place to live when they go into second, third, and fourth year. And the stress is significant for anyone that has a student, a university age student. I can also share that things are very different today from what they were in the past, where many of us would get together with 4 people and rent a house and go to university. That is simply not the case at this present time on the North Shore. Lastly, I'd like to share that while working with an external partner like Forum on a student-focused housing project might be new for the district, it's definitely new for us at the university. We are finding ourselves in very, very different times that are requiring us to be more responsive to the urgent needs of our constituents. In this case, for us, it's students. So while this might be very new when thinking about safe and affordable housing, I want to share with you that I think this is a direction we're going to need to go so that we are more responsive to these needs of our students, so that we can support their education. And as we start to pivot at the university, focusing on programs that are really going to go out and meet labor market needs, I'd like to invite the district to be a partner with us in that, and strongly urging you to support the project being put forward by Forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker I have is Robert Armstrong. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you very much, and appreciate the opportunity to address you again. This is in relation to option 2 of the zoning bylaw rewrite, and I want to encourage council to vote for option 2. I think Jarrett and Eric before me have nicely articulated the reasons for that, but maybe just to highlight, we started to look for downsizing as seniors to bring our children back to North Vancouver in 2020. And we are in a heritage home. We're not building a new home, but a heritage home in which we want to build a coach house. We're 5 years older now. And the council members who I've talked to, and including yourself, Mayor, all of us recognize that the existing bylaws aren't meeting the needs of the community, and in fact are harmful in many ways to what we want to achieve and what you want to achieve in the community. Living above ground is better than living below ground. The cost of construction is higher for below ground homes built. We protect the water, groundwater. The fair accommodation around total FSH, not
FSR or
sorry, FSR.
FSR or FAR, either. Yeah.
I've been using FSR. Thanks. As you may know, because our basement is slightly above the 4-foot level, we have to count the basement as part of the FSR. We have homes around us. Our home is about 2,700 square feet. We have homes around us that are all 5,000 square feet, many of them up to 5,000 square feet.
Fair enough.
And that's because they build below ground. And so getting fairness in the FSR, I think, is a reasonable approach. So I think there's good value in supporting the option 2. We're very keen to build, and waiting another year to 2027. Again, we started in 2020. There's nobody I talked to who thought the existing system was right. And so it's an opportunity to the council to move forward. And I think, as previous speaker has said, the framework that has been created, you created the 3-unit process in December, 3-unit opportunity in December, but the bylaws have to go with it to be effective. And so I really encourage you today, if you can, to approve option 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a nice guy.
Okay, the next speaker I have is Erica Wolowitnik. Am I in the ballpark on that? I apologize. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the
Thank you.
council.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. And I sent my comments by email and had the opportunity to speak with a few of you. Thank you for that opportunity. I wanted to just highlight the points that I'm very much in agreement with the other speakers to encourage the councillors to support option 2 in voting for the single family bylaw to be adopted sooner than the other portions that need more work. I also want in my email and would like to specifically talk about one of the items in that bylaw. It's the exemption for exterior insulation. Currently, I believe the way it's written, it's only for renovations, not for new construction, which is in direct conflict with the BC Building Code, the step code 4 and 5, which are currently required for new construction. So essentially, ever since the step code 4 and 5 came into place, homeowners building a new house are losing 300 plus or minus square feet in their floor space ratio compared to what they had before. And they're also potentially having to sink the buildings into the ground to meet the building height. This is something I've been advocating with the district specifically for years. I had a project that Brett Dwyer discussed, a pilot project with me. And when Bill 44 came out in November 2023, I might be getting the month wrong, that pilot project was canceled. So I have this particular homeowner's been waiting 3.5 years. Their house is rotting. They have a leaking roof. They can't wait another year. They have 1,700 square feet, 2x4 construction, spray foam. I've done the calculations. It won't give them enough insulation. And if they're forced to wait another year, they'll have to repair their house to a standard that won't protect them in heat domes and other winter cold. So what I would request is that in addition to the not postponing adoption, potentially consider rewording to allow for that exemption to be applied not just to renovations, but to new builds as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, would anybody else like to add their comments? Yeah, I think I saw you first, and then your second, Juan. Yeah, on the aisle here first. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you. You know, you come here and you think you're going to be the only one talking about a topic, but then you realize that everybody else is coming for the same reason. Nice to see you all again. My name is Akua, and I spoke actually a few weeks ago when we were speaking about SMU, and we were also talking about coach houses then. And I didn't expect to be back this soon, but I'm always happy to rejoin this discussion. My background is I've been living in multi-generational housing and coach houses and duplex forms for 18 years. And I also happen to be an owner of a design build company that specializes in infill housing. And we built about 500 different projects across multiple cities. And so when I'm here back today, similar to others, that with the decision not to proceed with SMU, a lot of projects have been left in a limbo, particularly those outside of the urban containment boundary. There's no longer really a clear pathway for those projects, despite a real interest from the community. And you've been part of this for 3 years of really working towards with staff and council and community consultations to advance this type of work. And the idea of leaving it for another couple of years, it really, really is a disconnect between the urgency of the housing need in this city and what is really pent up energy and enthusiasm to provide solutions for aging in place, student housing even, adult children looking to build intact communities. So I would encourage you, like others, to consider a second option and advancing this well before we're starting to see an election process come on board, separating out the single family zoning, but taking particular care to think about FSR as well as the urban containment boundary limitations that still currently exist. I'd also have you consider looking at some of the delegated authority for some of the low risk scenarios that exist. Provincial legislation, as you know, enables municipalities to delegate certain decision-making authority to staff, your CAO, and the district is already using this in limited cases. Building on that framework could allow staff to evaluate sort of modest infill projects on a case-by-case basis without a full bylaw rewrite. And this gives you a chance to also pilot and learn, and particularly around some of these issues that you're seeing increased costs based on requirements that are oversized for the developments. So right now we have homeowners ready to build, but a policy framework that doesn't enable that. And I urge you to move this ahead by advancing it sooner.
Thank you very much. Juan Palacio. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Check. Can you hear me? Yes.
Clearly.
Good evening, Your Worship and council members. My name is Juan Palacio. I'm a resident at 225 West Kings Road. I'm here to speak against moving towards a prohibition of consumer fireworks, including through any public opinion question. I understand that the report is about seeking community opinion, but the way that the question is framed shapes the outcome. Moving towards a prohibition, even indirectly, signals that a ban is the preferred direction. It isn't a neutral step. It's the beginning of a policy shift. Sorry. Between April 1st, 2011 and April 13th, 2020,
I don't think this guy stands a chance. I think a lot of people are fed up with fireworks.
were reported. And this was around the entire country of Canada. That is like 20 fireworks injuries throughout the entire country. And if overall, this remains a very low risk issue. If you take on some more extra popular curricular activities in the district, there's youth soccer. With youth soccer, there's thousands of injuries every year in Canada, many broken bones and concussions.
I'm sorry, buddy. It's the noise. It makes dogs go absolutely mental. It scares the bejesus out of cats. I mean, I think just having them full send. I don't know. I'm gonna respectfully possibly disagree with this gentleman.
The district already has permit requirements, time restrictions, date restrictions, age requirements for the people setting off the fireworks, and they are regulated and permitted safely under bylaws. The question shouldn't be whether to move towards a prohibition. It should be whether the current system works or if it needs to be modified to be better. Moving towards a ban may push to the use of underground fireworks, just people buying them illegally and using them illegally without the license, without any knowledge of how to properly use the fireworks. It'll make the enforcement harder. Essentially, over-regulation reduces safety. It does not improve it. We need to refine what we already have and not replace it with a ban. This is generally a matter of community balance. Fireworks are a long-standing tradition. The risks are real, but managed and quite liminal. Finally, I respect that the council has to be cautious about moving towards prohibition, and instead, it should focus on evidence-based improvements to the current system. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Juan.
Yeah. And it's already failed several times.
All right.
Don't do it.
Okay. Would anybody else like to address the public input period? Okay. Seeing no one else, we're going to move along with this evening's agenda. So the next item up for consideration is delegation. So at this point, I'd like to welcome down members of the North Vancouver Community Associations Network. Just to describe, a delegation is slightly different than regular public input in that it's usually from a community organization that wants to give us an update on their operations. And it provides an opportunity for them to make a 5-minute presentation to council with some follow-up Q&A from the council. So it's slightly different than a normal public input process. But at this point, I'd like to welcome Eric Anderson and Peter Teven. And if you want to introduce anyone else with your organization here, you're welcome to, but the floor is yours for a 5-minute comment.
Well, I think we would like to also mention that the other co-chair, John Miller, is in the audience here in the back. So as well as another member, Lyle Craver. But
Welcome.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. Most of you already know me, Peter Tevan from the Seymour Community Association. Also sit on the board supporting Eric and John and the rest of the executive in the work of NVCan. Just a little bit about NVCan. Who are we? Well, we're an organization. It stands for North Vancouver Community Associations Network, NVCan. We exist to share information and ideas and help foster the community associations around the district. So we mentor and encourage each other, share information. Our mandate is to facilitate effective community associations. We meet once a month, September through November and January through June. And we have all of our minutes and meeting schedules posted on our website, which is here on the screen. We are also one of the founding members of a new emerging organization, the BC Alliance of Neighborhoods. And you'll probably hear more about that in coming months. This is all of District North Van and where each community association is. As you can see, almost every area is covered by, most of them are active. We definitely encourage people across the district to get involved. We thought it was a good time to come out today to talk about the coming general election. Most of you who have been elected know very well that the community associations are very active as completely nonpartisan organizations in every election. And we have two goals to help with elections. One, increase voter participation and turnout, and two, to increase voter information. As you can see, our historical voter turnout is less than impressive. The really low ones that you see here were by-elections. 2 of them were for school board. And we also put the different voting locations up on a graph. Over to you, Eric.
thank you. So my name is Eric Anderson, and I'm the chair of the Blue Ridge Community Association, but at the same time working on NVCan. We wanted to talk to you about the election, and one of the items we have is the all candidates meetings, and you have all been part of that. So I think we're going to go quickly over that. But essentially, the points are that we are non-partisan, and it's really important. We are not supporting any specific candidates. We're just doing this for the betterment of the community and the information. It's open to the public, and of course, there's no charge for either participants or any of the candidates. And most are streamed here. Next slide, please. Opportunities to get involved. We are deciding this year that we would like to reach out to the First Nations to involve them more in the process of the municipal election, but also we would like to have a closer relationship, which has started recently with the PACs, but also with the schools in general, because so much of what's going on affects the schools. And also, of course, the elections are not just for council, but it's also for the school trustees. So we would like to cooperate a little bit more with these parties. And finally, as is mentioned here, we also would like to see if we can draw some of the youth into the whole democratic process that you will have, for example, at an all candidates meeting. So we have a couple, well, we have one so far that has been announced. It's the one in Seymour, October 8th, and we're hopeful there will be other associations that will host meetings, possibly Norgate and Lower Capilano, maybe Edgemont and Delbrook. And because there's been some issues, as you may be aware, in Edgemont, their association is a little bit having little troubles right now. So we have volunteered to help them out if they need any help and if they decide to have an all candidates meeting. Next, please. Okay, this is the more interesting part of the presentation, which is that we feel very strongly that the time has come that everybody works together on the topic. And this is hugely important because there are so many moving parts in this. There's the public, there's also the municipality, there's also the school board. But at the end of the day, we have to work together to see what we can do to improve the voter participation. And one thing we thought of was possibly having a task force. We realized that having a task force would probably be a little bit too long-winded, but instead, as an alternative, perhaps look at the option of having a brainstorming session, be it here or at a rec center or somewhere, to involve all the parties who would do something to come up with incentives for people to go out and vote. We have some listed here. We ran out of time, sorry, but
yeah, when we go over at your AG, at your all candidates meetings, you guys applaud over us, shut off the microphone, play a kazoo, all different things over the years.
To be fair, that's Lorraine's husband and he's not here tonight.
don't blame us.
To get you back. No, if you're just wrapping up on quickly, that's fine.
Okay, well, we had some suggestions here. We had also on the next page, and of course, we'll leave that with you. But our bottom line is, please, let's try and see if we can get, especially now that the election officer is here, we've got a new CAO. This could be a great time to get the community together to decide what can we do to improve the vote. We spoke about it. I remember that vividly at the last election.
Nothing more important than getting out and voting in our municipal elections. It is critical.
Out at the time, but it seems that nothing has been done to promote change into getting more people to vote. So this is why we're here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Just in closing, if you have any questions for us or any ideas you want to share, we would love to hear them.
Thank you, appreciate it. And I do have some members of the council that would like to ask some questions. Just before I do, the challenge we have is obviously the acute conflict of interest that politicians would have in defining how an election process would roll out. And so once the election officer is appointed, the decision-making on how that election goes from that point moves over to that person. So to be clear, Genevieve will be running the next election. Wondering if you have some comments about some of these matters.
Yes, thank you, through your worship. Yes, as the chief election officer, I am appointed by council to administer the election in an unbiased, fair, equal way. I would say that we do welcome any feedback you might have, and that can be emailed to elections@dnv.org. With some of the suggestions, I can provide comments back to NVCan directly, just from an election standpoint. However, if among the community groups there are, with the resource centers and everything that you've mentioned in one of the slides, if there are more suggestions you might have, please forward them on. I can review them against what our budget is and what our mandate and what our ability is per the legislation. Just having seen these briefly, I'm not able to provide exact comments on the advertising at this point in time. However, I would like to highlight the fact that there are learnings from the 2022 general local election, one of which is I am working with my counterparts at the District of West Vancouver and the City of North Vancouver to promote a North Shore Votes initiative to draw attention to the election, generally speaking, regardless of what your municipality that you're eligible to vote in. I would say that we are able to advertise the all candidates meetings on our general local election website, just to draw attention to that. However, we do not have a role to play in the all candidates debate, and that we do intend to engage more with, previously in 2022, we did advertise at Capilano University as well in their student newsletter when they first when you first start on campus in September. That's part of the advertising we do. And there is an effort that we're making with the school district to employ volunteer hours for youth in high school so that they can get credit hours that way, to just sort of expose more young people to the voting process and get them engaged, and then hopefully inspire future voters. I will say, though, one of the challenges with any municipal election across the province is standard voting turnout is approximately between 18% to about 32%. If you hit over 25%, that's considered to be pretty great turnout. So it is difficult for a single chief election officer to try to change voter behavior. However, we are trying with a more robust communications plan and joint advertising with our North Shore municipalities.
Yeah, I will just say, and hearing those ranges, 18% as being acceptable in some way is very shocking and frustrating. But I do know that we were worse than that. In 2008, we were 16.7% voter turnout. And as it turned out in that election, it was no mayoral race. 5 of the 6 incumbents were running again. There wasn't a big top of mind issue for that election. And so the voter turnout reflected an incredibly low number, which I think is a vulnerability for our councils. We want to see very high participation and a very strong mandate from the community to make decisions. So supportive of initiatives that will help us achieve that. Councillors Back, Murray, Pope, Hanson, Ma, you're getting all of us here. Councillor Back, your comments.
Thank you, Mayor Little. Thank you very much for the presentation. First of all, I just wanted to commend you on the all candidates meetings that the community associations host every year. I know they're a lot of work. And then in your presentation, you highlighted a number of the things that you're doing to reach out and get different perspectives, reaching out to the First Nations, the school districts, getting more youth involved. So I think those are all really good things. Just on the all candidates meetings, I'm wondering if there's been any thought about, and I'm not suggesting that there be fewer of them, but if there has been any thought given to doing larger, more centralized ones, and maybe 1 or 2 fewer, but larger events that can be maybe supported. I hear what our corporate officer is saying, but maybe we could support in terms of helping with some of the streaming services, or if it was a bigger event. I don't know if there's any thought given to that.
Yeah, thank you for your question, through your worship. This is something I think that is kind of naturally evolving because, myself, I've kind of been the point person for streaming the meetings. So in the provincial election, in 2022, you will all recall I was a candidate, so I couldn't get involved in the all candidates meetings. They weren't streamed that year. But the provincial election and the federal election, I not only did it for our community, the Seymour, Blue Ridge, and Deep Cove, but also facilitated that for Lynn Valley. So I think that kind of thing will evolve. And this time, because we've had a couple of community associations kind of age out, where the core people are kind of too old to do too much in that kind of event. So we've offered to help out and send volunteers to help stage. I think that is a natural inclination, but on the other side of things, I think it's also important to have them in local neighborhoods so that people feel that they have a voice in every representative community of the district. So we'll probably find a natural landing place. Yeah.
And excuse me for adding this, but also many communities have different issues. If you go into the eastern part of the district, western part, it's different. So I think it is good to have it locally. And I think if we have it 4 or 5 places, or maybe likely 4 across the district, I guess it's not too much. I mean, I know it's hard for each candidate, but at the time, but for the public, I think it's a good thing to have different options to go to if they can't attend 1 or 2 meetings.
Yeah.
Fair comments. Thank you very much. I think the streaming is just becoming more and more of an important piece to have, because we know so many people are consuming it that way.
Just as an addendum on that subject, there's a new feature on YouTube where you can do what's called collaboration, where we can set up, we did this with a couple of our videos, where we can set up and say, okay, this video is hosted by this community association, but it's in collaboration with DNV and other community associations. And that video will show up on all those pages. So we're hoping to evolve NVCan's new YouTube channel as a convergence place for all candidates meetings, so that there's one portal that you go to and see any of them.
And not to add a wrench into it or change it, but is Instagram ever talked about as being something? Instagram as being a channel that you would look at doing streaming to? Can you do multiple channels?
Probably. I'm not much of an Instagram expert, but it's a possibility.
Reaches a totally different demographic. That's the only.
Yeah. No, I'm totally aware of that. You know, we've kind of done most of the streaming on YouTube, and then you can link it out to the different social media platforms, I think, but it's a possibility.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for all your work. The community associations are invaluable to our community. So thank you. And thank you for doing so much work for the elections and running these all candidates meetings. A huge amount of work. And we generally do get a really good turnout at the events. So we'll look forward to them in the fall. Given the concern about the voter turnout, what is your perspective on the report under 8.4 in regards to a reduction of voting places, totaling 7 throughout the district? And I'm not sure if you're actually even aware that there's the report on, okay, so you are, Eric. What is do you have a concern, or is there any thoughts with a reduction of 7 voting places?
I have my own thoughts, and this is not necessarily what the association or NVCan would think, because we haven't discussed it. So this is my own thoughts, but I don't know how you would increase voter turnout by reducing the number of places people can go and vote. It's already bad. And if you take away some locations where people could vote close to their home and now they have to go or drive elsewhere to do it, will they go? I am doubtful, but this is not my decision. And again, this is my personal views, but you make the decision.
My second question would be, are you actively using your Facebook pages and your own email lists that you've collected in order to encourage people getting involved in the election? You're all going to be doing that because you have extensive lists. And I think that's a really important part of getting the information out.
We have our newsletter as well, the hard copy, as well as the Blue Ridge Bulletin that goes out once a month. So of course that'll be advertised. But I think that the important thing here, and maybe we didn't stress enough for lack of time, but perhaps it's not so much to get people out to vote, but it's to get people to understand why it's so important to vote at this level. I mean, there are so many people, and you've been privy to that at meetings we've held in the past. They will ask you questions that clearly are not for this government level. It'll be for federal or for provincial government. I think it's so important that the district let people understand what it is, why it's important to vote for this, because it has to do with the roads, it has to do with the parks, garbage, all these things that we are facing every single day. And this is, I think, why so many people are not interested in municipal politics. It's a shame, but it's a fact. It's reflected in the numbers that we all share.
Clarify, is North Van Can's community network going to be using their website or their Facebook pages and their email lists, like all collectively, all the community associations will be using those methods to reach people?
Yeah, for NVCan specifically, the email distribution list is mostly just the other community associations. And we trust that each community association passes whatever information is received onto their memberships. So definitely every community association makes extensive use of their email list. Some of us are quite active on Facebook pages, others not so much. We definitely use that as well. This is probably a good point to reiterate that, a long time ago, there was an offer from the district to put community bulletin boards in the communities, and that is something that we feel the time is ripe for. We noticed that in 2023, there was a provincial election where it was missed to put, you remember the bulletin board that used to be at the foot of Dollarton? That we would always put the community like the all candidates meeting there, and we missed that one time. And our attendance was down a lot
Mhm.
at the all candidates meeting.
Hmm.
So, we've since documented, made a checklist for ourselves. Okay, make sure we do this, make sure we do this.
Hmm.
But we think that community bulletin boards would be a great help getting the word out for all candidates meetings. And of course, once the meetings are over, it could advertise general voting day.
Excellent. Thank you. Mayor Little, I'll move receipt of the delegation.
Okay, right, Councillor Pope, will you second? Receipt? Yeah, thank you. Councillor Pope, your comments, please.
Pardon me. Hello, thank you very much for all of the work that you do in the community. And especially want to thank you for your work on the North Shore wastewater treatment plant debacle and getting that message out there to people. It's so important. Like me, you've been persevering with many hurdles to try and make change. And I very much appreciate those efforts and the support and speaking out about it. I'm just guessing, but I think that'll probably be among the many topics that we cover in the debates in the fall during election time. I'm hoping it will, because I look forward to it. As for increasing voter turnout, yes, absolutely. And I'm really pleased to see that you're also focused on trying to get more youth out. I've always said that, youth can change the world if they just get out and vote. And just a quick scan of what came quickly up on the screen, it looks like you've got some great ideas. And I'm really pleased to see that. And I hope that we at the district can support in any possible way with our communications channels.
May I press you to ask a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just really wanted to thank you. Thanks very much for your efforts.
Your worship, there is something there to speak to.
Okay,
And that is, thank you for the recognition. Just to make sure everyone is clear that the advocacy work done with regard to the wastewater treatment plant is done by, I'll call it a sister committee called the North Shore Neighborhoods Alliance, that included representatives from the city of North Vancouver and the district of West Vancouver. It was not a specific mandate from NVCan. It was people who happened to sit on NVCan that were interested and got involved.
Great, thank you. Councillor Hanson.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service to the community, both through your presidency of your local community associations and also, of course, North Van Can. Thank you to my council colleagues for the questions they've asked. Dealing with this voter turnout issue, so 21.6%, it's not a very good number. It's about a third of the provincial and federal numbers, less than a third significantly less than a third of the federal numbers. And as Mayor Little said, it's a number that perils our credibility, our authority to make decisions on behalf of the community, because it's such a small share of the voters. And I'm going to ask you a bit of a philosophical question. I don't know which of you wants to weigh in, but what do you think is the core reason why we hold these three elections, federal, provincial, and local government? And in these local government elections, people just don't show up.
Well, I think we probably both have some thoughts on that. But as I mentioned before, I think far too many people living in all communities, for that matter, do not realize the work that you're doing and do not realize the importance of the work, why it affects our daily lives so much. And until such time that they are more aware of it, and this is maybe what we're trying to say, get the awareness out of what you are doing. Because why do you think that we would be here on a Monday night to speak before you if we didn't think it was important? This is something that affects so much of what we're all doing, even driving to and from here, and so many other things, going for walks. It's in our neighborhood, in the parks. All that is controlled by the district, by the municipality. So many people have no idea of that, and they don't take the time to read about it and come out at the all candidates meetings. And this is what we want to see. What can we do to give people the moral incentive, so to say, to come out and do their duty? It's a privilege to be able to vote. And yet 2/3, 4/5 of the people, last election, 22.6% in the district. That's dismal.
21.6.
Oh, okay. Even worse. So 4 out of 5 essentially are not voting. And that is, I don't have words to describe it, but that's why we're here. What can we do collectively? We want to work with the district. We want to work with the school district too. Let's do something that results in something positive and increasing the awareness.
I have something I could add to that. Through your worship, I think it's a lot more work for the average citizen to find out what the issues are, what happens at council, what, for example, the agenda is. Most of the people I talk to are quite detached from what's going on. They're just simply not aware. And when I talk them through, okay, here's how you find out. You go onto this website, you look up this department, you go onto this subpage, you can download it, and then you can read 865 pages of it. Most people just turn off. There's not really any, in my opinion, functioning local news that is just disseminating nonpartisan information anymore. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for the average citizen to get engaged, and they don't know how.
Thank you. Councillor Ma.
Good to see you gentlemen here. From personal experience, I know the immense value that North Van brings to the district residents. Over the years, I've appreciated the nonpartisan nature of the organization. To me, that's personified by a North Van member, Corey Koss. He'll bring up a lot of issues, but probably more so to try to educate us. So that's really appreciated. I'm also glad that Madam Clerk has discussed ideas and plans to increase voter turnout. Recently, Councillor Back and I have had discussions on how to increase participation in district civic activities, especially among young people. From attending the Blue Ridge Community Association AGM last year, and it's coming up this year on May 12th, so I thought I'd give Eric's group a plug. I know the association gives out awards to youth and young people, and I'm wondering, would North Van be open to having questions written in advance by younger members of your community? Like, could you reach out to your CA members to try to, as part of the all candidates meetings, to have a section that's questions from youth?
Well, that would be particularly good because we want to get the segment of the population, especially, under 30. That's one of the many goals, but that's probably the lowest participation of the 21% that was mentioned is probably percentage-wise even lower for that segment of the population. So yes, we want to reach out to them. This is why we want to work with the schools to see if we can get some questions in and we can say this is from our area.
Yeah,
definitely.
My fear is that, if that bubble, if it's so low when they're young and they're so disengaged, when they get to the as adults, where most of them should be voting, if they don't care, it's not good for our democracy. So it's a big risk. So thank you for helping to achieve a better result.
Yeah, through your worship, this is something that we actually floated and wrote several years ago to all the principals and vice principals and a couple of other named kind of political science teachers in our local schools. And this was for engagement in the Blue Ridge, Seymour and Deep Cove all candidates meeting, where we suggested to them that they actually have like almost a contest in each school of who wants to ask a question, who's got the best question, and then the winner of that contest gets to
That's a great
come and
idea.
ask their question in person at the all candidates
idea.
meeting as a featured question. So we really would love to do something like that to make it engaging and fun for the whole school, where, you know, maybe they could vote within the school of whose question gets asked. That's something we'd really like to do. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Forbes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I know you gentlemen from sitting on all those committees you're talking about with you. And I'm really glad you're here doing the presentation, and thank you. We are getting a full copy, are we?
Yes.
Yes, good. Do you keep stats of your feed, how many hits you actually get, how many clicks you get?
Through your worship, yes, that's on our YouTube channel. The 2023 one was the best viewed. It has, you know, for a 3-hour video, it's not too bad. For local, there's 1,100 views.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, they may not have been there for this whole 3 hours.
It might not have been the whole 3 hours, but actually, I can forward those stats to you.
I'd love that.
I'll send it through your worship, and we'll try to get a little bit more detail of what the average time watching was. But the North Shore News also helps out because we send them notice of the all candidates meeting as well as a link, and then they publish it on their online paper so people can click through from their website and find it.
Will they still be doing that this year?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't have any reason to
Stand by, everybody. One
There's
sec.
been a lot of
Incoming
changes
phone
at
call.
North Shore News.
if there are, I'm not aware. Hopefully they will. Yeah.
Okay. I too was going to ask about what's a topic coming up on the agenda tonight about the reduction in voting stations. Do you think there would be, do you think if people who don't have a way of getting where they need to go to vote, do you think that having access, if we set something up as access, say for the elderly, or, I mean, we're going to have it in Lionsgate Hospital for people who can't get out and vote. But would you think that type of thing might help?
Go ahead. Okay. Yes, through your worship, I think that the more opportunities there are to vote, the better the turnout will be. One of the interesting things is I volunteer at the federal level, and I can actually send to you a list of all the polls at the federal level. Just in the Burnaby North Seymour riding, they have mobile polling stations for care homes, mobile polling stations for hospitals, they have specific polling stations for high density residential. And they're their own poll, and they're all segmented. There's a detailed map from Elections Canada that has them all. It's quite impressive.
Well, we might not be able to do what the federal government does, nor do we have the funds to do it too much, but it might be worth I'd love to take a peek at it.
I think it stands to reason that the more opportunities to vote, the greater the possibility of turnout.
Okay. I just wanted to comment about something you said, Eric. In my time when I've walked around talking to people in a campaign year, I was shocked. I mean, I was born on the North Shore. I'm a 4th generation North Shore family. And I was shocked at how different the needs are in the communities. They're very distinct. There's a lot of common thread through them, but some of them have very distinct needs that they want dealt with in their neighborhood. So I agree with what you're saying, that I think I wouldn't want to compartmentalize it into too big an organization, because then I think people will get even more afraid or even more disconnected to go. So I just wanted to mention that I was thinking of that too. And I wanted to also mention something you said about why people don't get involved in municipal elections. What I hear every time I walk around is they go, why? I vote federal and provincial. Why would I bother with municipal? And I stand there and I go on for 10 minutes. Well, they pick up your garbage. They give you a ticket if you put it out at the wrong times. You know, anything you're upset with or you need, or do you need a sign saying no parking somewhere? Do you need road management because of traffic? They don't understand it. And they think they're doing, I don't know how they think that voting provincially and then federally is somehow going to come down to this level. But that is one question that I get all the time. So I try to answer it as best I can. I like your idea, Mr. Tevan, about the school presentations and getting votes. I think that would be a really good way to get youth involved. I know that we are also, anyone who's running also gets asked to come into certain schools and speak to kids. And I've done that, and it's really interesting, some of the questions you get from the kids. Anyway, that was just my point on that. And I just had one other question. Do you think that changing or staggering or changing the time of the all candidates meetings, I know there aren't a lot of them, but do you think that being in the evening is a hindrance in some way? Do you think if we could offer an all candidates in the daytime that might help some people?
Well, it might
of
help
that?
some people, but it might also make it impossible for others who are working during the daytime to attend.
Well, I meant in addition to the nighttime ones, if there was one daytime one. Have you thought of that kind of thing at all?
We've never really discussed that.
For our part, both Mr. Anderson and I are involved in the same community association meeting, as you guys all know. And the venue that we work with is only available to us in the evening.
Okay.
So is it a possibility? Sure, it's a possibility. Not something that we've contemplated before because, we work with Mount Seymour United Church. They graciously partner with us. They don't charge us to host the meetings there. They're incredibly accommodating, but they've got a very limited window when the church is not in use of when we can use it. So we work closely with them.
Okay. Would
Yeah.
you be interested if I don't know if it's possible, but if the district can provide a room in a rec center, something like that, or a community center room, would you be interested in helping out with what you would normally do at a normal meeting, and maybe have it as one general meeting for the greater community rather than specific? And if they come with specific questions, well, then you can answer them.
Through your worship, I'll state again, our goals are very clear. Increase voter information, increase voter participation and turnout. Would there be volunteers who would step up to help make that happen? Most certainly.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to add one thing, if I could, and this is to continue in response to Councillor Pope, who your worship alluded to what might be a topic in the all candidates meeting. This is more of a personal note, but as a person who ran in the 2018 and 2022 election and is also involved in a volunteer capacity at the provincial and federal levels, I have always recused myself, always, from the question selection process. I do the audio visual for specifically that reason. It's completely benign and nonpartisan. I just broadcast the meetings. Other people, a committee of people handle the questions. So I don't get involved in that at all. I think it's worth saying.
Thank you. Well, your visit is very timely because next week is Local Government Awareness Week in the province of BC, and there will be some news media coverage on local governments and their traditions and cultural impacts, and also obviously the services we provide back to the community. So there will be some media in the next bit. I will encourage you to reach out to the publisher of the North Shore News, Sarah Strother, because I think that they do have the ability to push out information, and both with digital assets and printed paper. And surprisingly, I know the circulation has gone down for getting a little bit of ink on your hands, but it's still has very good staying power online and very good staying power in the community, and people do remember that North Shore News article. But before we get into the fall, when all the politicians start grabbing the real estate in the newspapers, maybe you could talk to them about doing a community-based advertising of some kind, and that may be something they'd consider.
Thank you, Worship. I think you spawn an idea in me with that declaration that strikes me as a wonderful time to do an interview with Dr. Cost about his what is it, 38 years of volunteer engagement at the municipal government level about why he's done it and what he's found to be the most valuable. That would probably, a video of that might be a very, very pertinent thing to put out on that day.
Well,
Yeah.
I know Abby from North Shore News is working on some pieces. You're welcome to connect and see if there's something that's appropriate there. But I just want to encourage you to use those traditional methods as well.
Thank you.
I will just say, you know, as someone who's participated in a lot of all candidates meetings over the years, I think I've always appreciated the nonpartisan nature of the ones that are presented by the community associations. They all still have a bit of a different feel about each of them, the style of questions, shotgun, whether they're, you know, that we have prepared, whether we have questions given to us in advance in some way, or others, but it's all a very different experience. I will say that the seniors tea is a daytime of all candidates meetings that's available to any members of the public. That one is meet and greet, in that they have us stand around at different tables in a room, and people sort of speed date circulate around the room and talk to all of the candidates in that environment. That's one where we do provide the venue as well. So maybe that could, we'll have to check in and see if Parkgate Services Society is going to be running that one as well. And there are some other ones that are non-community associations, some themed around sports, user awareness issues, and other things in the community. So the only challenge is, you know, as much as we do love the in-school events, there's so many schools. And so if all of a sudden they host all of their own events and invite all of us to all of their own events, it's a real challenge to fit that into the schedule.
That
and so
it is.
inviting them to your event is a good way to get everybody there without having to divide everybody's schedule up entirely during the time. So I like that suggestion. I think we've had a good go at this. And so at this point, the matter's been moved and seconded for receipt of the delegation. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. The council, thank you very much for making your delegation today.
Welcome.
Good delegation. I like those guys.
The next item up for consideration is item 8.1. This is the 2026 tax rates bylaw 8795-2026. And we've had this discussion on quite a number of occasions already. I just want to check in. Are there any comments from staff on the matter? I saw Mr. Daniluk pop up for a moment online.
Thank you,
Any
Mayor Little.
Comments from staff, or would you like me to just take this away?
Just a brief introduction, if I might.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Little. This report recommends the tax rate bylaw for first 3 readings, consistent with the direction provided by the Committee of the Whole at the Tax Distribution Workshop on April 20th. The bylaw reflects an even distribution of the 3.53% property tax increase, with the exception of light industry, where tax growth within the class is reinvested to bring the rate closer to the regional average. Reinvesting growth within a class is one of the tools Council has to keep tax rates competitive, although it's not often used. It has been in this case. Those are my comments.
Great. Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Daniluk. I'll be moving the staff recommendation. Is there a seconder on the matter? Second by Councillor Hanson. Not really any further comments from me on this. I mean, we've already had this discussion at the council table and workshop a number of occasions that led to this. Nobody wants to be setting a tax rate at higher than they need to, but I got to tell you, these aren't the big challenges. The big challenges are coming in our future years. The capital plan is going to have significant challenges in the future with replacement of our facilities. We have a number of aging facilities that obviously we are setting money aside for and trying to support. But at the end of the day, the construction contracts are coming back at such a highly inflated level that
That's because of the fucking bylaws and building code. Make those simple and these buildings become way cheaper to construct. Fuck.
Well, from 2029 out to 2034
Good
is
Lord.
the largest area of risk when it comes to replacing our aging facility and infrastructure. And so Plus also at those same times, I know Councillor Murray, you're our director on Metro Vancouver. I know that Metro Vancouver has a number of long-term challenges, not the least of which is the wastewater treatment plant, which is affecting us on our utility bills right now, but also a lot of their capital works projects are still, again, under immense pressure for growth and higher capital costs. And so that's the caution. We were able to do our part with an average household increase of about $104 per household. For comparison's sake, your provincial government took on $3,500 in debt for every single one of your households in the province of BC, and the federal government took on $2,800 in debt on your behalf for every single household in the entire country. And so our $104 increase sort of puts you in a little bit of a scale, helps you understand the magnitude of municipal services versus the cost of delivering provincial and federal services. Even though it's a small number relatively, it's still worth fighting for, digging, and trying to make sure that we're being responsible with public tax dollars. And I think this does represent us doing our best to keep that price down, considering all of the pressures that people in our community are being faced with. But with that, I'll be supporting the staff recommendation. Councillor Hanson?
Yeah, thank you very much. And as you noted, this has been well discussed in a number of workshops. I just wanted to expand a little bit on the sentence in the report where it says the tax increase is going to be 3.53% distributed evenly across the property classes, except where capped by the province. And this, of course, is a reference to the capped heavy industry. I can report that at the Lower Mainland Local Government Association Conference in Whistler last Thursday, a motion on the topic of the Ports Property Tax Act was debated on the floor. I did speak to it, and I'm pleased to report that it received a majority of vote in that body. So that will now be going to the Union of British Columbia Municipalities, and I will be there as well to do what I can to usher it through that body, and hopefully we will see some relief with respect to that, which would provide relief to all the other classes. So that's my report on that.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillors, actually, I don't see any other speakers. Councillor Ma?
Thank you. Just something quick. I know many members of council have said in the past that we need to live within our means, and that's so true now. I would also add that we may want to stay focused during the remainder of the term and not take on too many unplanned projects. I also support for second and third reading. Thanks.
Thank you. See no further speakers. I'm prepared to call a question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Council. Okay, the next item up for discussion is item 8.2. This is the OCP amendment and rezoning application 1578 to 1590 Hunter Street Student Rental Housing Development. And I look to staff for, I do have a member of the public signed up to speak. And so we do have Dana Gilbert joining us from the applicant to speak to the item.
Thank you, Mayor Little and members of council. I'm Dana Gilbert. Nice to see you all again. I'm joined by Steve Kralanovich in the audience, as well as Carrie Washington, who you've already heard from today, who's with Capilano, one of the largest employers in the district. We are all here to answer your questions. So as questions come up, I would ask each to answer as well. We're asking for your support on option 2 in the report to direct staff to prepare a bylaw based on the current application and bring it forward at the next council meeting for first reading. The need is truly real and time sensitive. We've been working collaboratively with staff for 2.5 years with CAP for almost 3 to deliver this project for them. CAPU's new on-campus residence, as you've already heard, of 362 beds open this summer, but it's dormitory style only for first-year students. Simultaneously, their Dollarton residence of 290 beds with an ongoing wait list of over 200 students is being removed. The result is a significant gap in housing, specifically for upper year students, and no local solution currently exists to fill it. CAPU's new president, Jason Dooling, apologized for not being able to be here, but Carrie is here in his place, but has provided a letter of support that recognized the urgent need for this form of housing for upper year students. It's not a model CAPU has funded or built, and this location delivers exactly what their student demographic needs: a town center address with full access to local amenities and a strong, easy connection back to campus. We are mindful of everyone's time and the demands on staff, and we are grateful for that partnership. And we continue to proceed that way. The remaining questions, issues we believe has been addressed and really stem from the fact that this is a new model of rental housing, one the district doesn't yet have a policy framework for. But the market has changed and CAPU's need for housing is only grown. If approved before the election freeze, we can deliver for a 2029-2030 academic calendar year. A delay isn't a matter of weeks, it sets students back a full year. Alma Capilano fills that gap. 448 beds exclusively for CAPU students, purpose-built from day one. At our last appearance, we proposed 6.28 FSR and 536 beds. We heard council, we've come back at 5.46 FSR, delivering 448 beds. That's a meaningful reduction that reflects your feedback directly. The building is designed specifically for students: smaller, efficient, all-inclusive units, more shared amenity space, and an L-shaped floor plate that improves views, reduces shadows, and maximizes daylight. It's inherently affordable in its design. All-inclusive rent, utilities, internet, furnishings, amenities provides cost certainty. That model doesn't exist on the North Shore today. It translates to a 29% more attainable in today's dollars than any comparable purpose-built rental in the district. 15 more seconds?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, we're also working in partnership with CAPU to explore bursaries and scholarships tied to this housing project, much like their new first year delivering this summer that they just completed a fundraise for. It solves a real commuting problem. 65% of CAPU students commute from the North Shore, averaging 1.5 hours one way. This site is a 2-minute walk
Nothing
to
too
frequent
exciting yet.
transit, 7 minutes to Phibbs Exchange, and a 20-minute walk to campus. TransLink also confirmed that they'll scale their service with demands specific to this project. All students from CAPU already receive a transit pass through tuition. One note on access: the Orwell access point is engineer recommended, driven by site constraints and pedestrian safety. It's not a preference, it's a right solution. And in closing, this project reduces community, delivers proven affordability, and supports CAPU students' population at a critical moment. The district has no existing policy framework for this model, and that's exactly why it needs a different lens. We ask that you support option 2 and bring this forward for a first reading at the next council meeting so that we can bring this also forward to a public hearing to receive comment. Thank you very much. And thank you for the extra time.
Thank you very much. I'll ask Mr. Zhang to come up to the desk here. So if you guys clear out, Mr. Zhang's going to come up.
Sure.
And then Mr. Milburn, do you have any opening comments while Mr. Zhang's getting ready?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to note, this item is returning to you after Council passed a motion in December 8th, 2025. The Council is not supportive of the application as it's currently presented, although there was strong support for, of course, the use, both from staff and Council expressed at the time. And the reasons given in the resolution were that there was a request for the applicant to revise to lower the density and to address other key issues. The applicant has indicated how they've addressed density in this revision. But the other issues noted by Council at the time were issues to building design, site access, below market housing, along with other rezoning stage issues identified by staff in the previous staff report. Mr. Zhang is available to provide the details for Council tonight. Staff continue to strongly support this type of use. Student housing is a critical need in our community. The key issues staff are raising are that we have looked at Council's policies and regulations, and we provided advice relative to the request before you tonight, and we're seeking direction to return the item to staff to resolve the outstanding issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zhang.
Great, thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, mayors and members of council. My name is Kevin Zhang, Senior Development Planner with the district, and tonight I'll be presenting and seeking council's input on 1578 Hunter Street, a purpose-built rental development in the Lynn Creek Town Center, which is proposed to be exclusively for Capilano University students. So, as Dan mentioned, we took this project to council for input on December 8th, which is highlighted in the middle of this timeline here. And for context, I'll highlight some of the key feedback received by council at that meeting. So overall, there was strong support for rental student housing in general, especially in this area in close to CapU and FIBS Exchange. However, there was a recurring theme for affordability. Members of council noted the high market rents and sought a dedicated below market affordable component for lower income students. In regards to the proposed density, concerns were raised regarding the departure from the OCP designation. However, it was noted that the increase in density and height may be supportable when considered alongside adequate community benefits. Most
I'll be
councilors
back
spoke
once
in
this
favor of
presentation is
micro
done.
units, noting them as smartly designed and acceptable for students. Transportation was also discussed, where members of council noted transit access may be problematic in this area and suggested exploring a dedicated shuttle for future tenants. Lastly, members of council highlighted that housing students here would inject vitality into the community and provide staffing for local businesses. So since that meeting, the applicant has revised some aspects of the proposal and in response to council and staff feedback. And that is the focus of my presentation tonight, which is to highlight how various items have been addressed and what items remain outstanding. Okay. So in the next two slides, I'll walk through some of the key revisions and the outstanding items. And this table is also available in the report. So the column on the left shows council's input, staff review, and district policies. And the column on the right compares with the latest proposal. So the biggest change, as mentioned both by the applicant and Dan previously, is the reduction in overall density from 6.28 to 5.5, as you can see on the right. And the reduction in height from 25 stories to 21 stories, as you can see here. However, while it's a step in the right direction, it still exceeds the OCP designated density for the area and also the building height in terms of the Lynn Creek Town Center implementation plan. In regards to affordability, typically significant increases beyond OCP densities are accompanied by below market housing in the district. However, this is a unique project, and the applicant notes that these units are inherently more affordable to students because of the smaller unit size and the included amenities. A pro forma was also submitted and reviewed by a third-party consultant, which showed that there is minimal land lift as a result of the proposed rezoning. So all this leads to there being no below-market housing component, as you can see here, and that's similar to when this application came forward to council in December. Vehicle parking also remains unchanged from the December proposal with 0 residential spaces, 20 visitor spaces, and 0 off-street loading spaces. To date, staff have not received adequate justification for these rates and are still seeking a full transportation study with a parking analysis. And as previously mentioned, a shuttle was suggested. However, based on the applicant's trip generation projections, a student shuttle is not proposed. Again, staff are seeking adequate justification on these figures. And a letter from TransLink has been provided, which states that if volumes on the 245 exceed levels identified in the transit services guidelines, TransLink will investigate the possibility of adding additional services as a part of quarterly service changes. So on the next slide, the proposed vehicle access remains on Orwell Street, as you can see on the right, as opposed to 100th Street. However, this conflicts with the district's intention for this portion of Orwell to be converted to an active transportation-only route. On the next row here, key offsite servicing and infrastructure remains undetermined as utility modeling has not commenced. And that's partially due to the ongoing changes to the overall density on the site. And I will just pause here to mention that these two items are significant and will require analysis, potential redesign, and most importantly, time to resolve. Moving on, accessibility. While these are not traditional dwelling units, the number of units satisfying basic and enhanced accessible features guidelines are below district policies. Setback and land dedication adjustments are suggested to reduce impacts to the Green Spine Linear Park to the west, and also to secure the delivery of a multi-use path and other public infrastructure along frontages. And lastly, staff recommend exploring different tower floor plate designs to better align with the form and character guidelines, and identifying and addressing potential construction traffic management issues in the area of Lynn Creek Town Center, which is ongoing significant change and traffic challenges. So as you can see here, there are a certain number, certainly a number of important issues to be resolved. However, staff are supportive of student housing in general in the district and have been working with the applicant and are committed to finding the necessary solutions. Capilano University. So since the last last time this item came to council, Cap University has provided an updated letter of support. And they have noted that CapU has endorsed the proposal as a much needed off-campus housing solution, particularly for the upper year students. The proposal also supplements the on-campus housing. And lastly, both Forum, which is the applicant, and CapU have been working together to finalize long-term agreements, including a ground lease and an operating agreement for the proposal. So to conclude, in this presentation, I recounted Council's input from December of 2025. I highlighted the progress the applicant has made in terms of addressing some of Council's and staff's concerns, and listed and provided a list of key outstanding items to be resolved. Staff are seeking Council's input on the next steps with this OCP amendment and rezoning application. Staff recommendation is to revise the application and resolve the list of issues identified, including below market housing. Other options available to Council are to proceed with the bylaw preparation based on the current application as is, to direct staff to not prepare bylaws or provide staff with any alternative directions. Thank you. That concludes my presentation, and staff are available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. So I guess to sort of boil it down, at this point, this is staff's recommendation because they don't feel that some of these issues have been adequately addressed, issues identified by council. So we can take a couple of courses of action. We can support it as is. We can decide to do what the staff recommendation is, which is refer it back to staff and put the sort of power in staff's hands to decide when they've adequately answered the questions, or council can along the way remove some of the questions off of the list if they're, in your view, you've decided that those issues have been adequately addressed in the process, and we can alter it. For my part, there are still enough unanswered questions that my recommendation is going to be option one, which is that we revise and that council directs the administration to work with the applicant to resolve the following issues. And as seen on the left side of the screen, the little screen there, we don't have these screens. Oh, we're having a technical difficulty with these screens, but you can crane your neck around. It's written on that screen, and it's the options down the left, and sorry, the main staff recommendation on the left, and then some alternatives along the way. Is there a seconder for that recommendation? Second by Councillor Hanson. Just my comments on it. I actually think that the number one below market rental housing, according to council's direction, is probably largely satisfied. It's true, it's not an explicitly below market rental housing, but it is a sub-market that you're drawing from. Presumably the only people, and I know there isn't a final agreement on it, but presumably the only people that would be able to rent in this place would be active students of Capilano University, not broad general market competition, but the people who want it for the next semester or the next year. And therefore, it is a sub-market and would already be producing below general market type rates because it's for those specific purposes. So I'm willing to accept that that's already satisfied. But I do have still some very serious concerns about transportation impacts. TransLink sending a letter out that says, you know, we'll adjust as things happen. I don't find that to be sufficient substitute for a transportation plan. This has some very real foreseeable challenges. I have gone and talked to Sarah Ross, the planner for TransLink, and asked them to look at whether the 255 route, which comes across 15th Street and does go up to the university, whether that could be altered to come into the facility. And then in such a way that it provides an alternative. The challenge is the 245, which is the only other bus that services that general area in the direction of the university, is a shuttle that has to empty when it gets into Phibbs Exchange, and it has to empty when it gets up to the university. It's the only way to ensure first in, first out for the people that are standing and waiting at Phibbs Exchange. And so unfortunately, it means there's over an hour period in the morning where there will be not a single seat available by the time it passes this student housing. And if the students then themselves decide, well, if there is a stop, we're just going to take it back down to Phibbs Exchange, then it won't actually be honoring the first in, first out policy that we currently have in that area. And so the bus would come in, instead of being empty, it might have 25 seats full, and you're now staring at a 45-minute long lineup of students waiting to get on the shuttle, and the shuttle's blocked up by people who have come the wrong direction into the system. So I don't think that letter meets my standard for having a transportation plan for it, or curbside management. I'm sure on a Friday night, there's going to be a tremendous number of food deliveries that are going to come to a facility like this. And plus visitors, I don't think 20 parking stalls is going to be enough to satisfy that demand for 400 plus people in the space. So I think that's inadequate. I think a lot of the other issues, I think, are sort of staff level discussions on infrastructure upgrades, the suitability of the intersections, vehicle access, the accessibility of units, I'm assuming would all have to meet our level 1 accessibility standards, but we normally on a project this size would also push for, you know, some mix of even up to level 3 wheelchair access for some of the units. And that question, I believe, has not been answered. And so I still think there is work to be done on this before it warrants moving to the next stage. So that's my recommendation. Councillor Hanson, you're the seconder on the matter. Do you have further comments?
Yeah, I do. Thank you very much, Mayor Little. I'm seconding the motion. But my comments are effectively reversed yours.
There you go.
I could probably find a way to accommodate myself to numbers 1 to 7, although I obviously encourage staff to continue the discussions there. But I have a real concern on the affordability front. These rents, according to the staff report, for what's being proposed here will be in the area of $10 a foot. The units, we remember, are 160 to 220 square feet. Typical rents with respect to purpose-built rental are less than $5 square foot. From my perspective, if we're enabling a project which is going to exceed the OCP, it's going to be 21 stories in height, 5.46 FSR, and it's going to be jam full of renters at $10 a square foot. I'd like to see an affordability component. I'd like to see an aspect of this which caters to people of more limited means and provides access and support to their attendance at CapU. So I leave that as a challenge to the applicant. I thank the applicant for all the work they've done. I appreciate their goodwill. I do appreciate the need in our community for this type of housing. I do appreciate the support of CAPU. I listened very attentively to that. But I believe on the affordability side, there's something that can be done that will provide greater diversity in terms of the cost of this proposal. So I'll leave my comments there.
Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I share the same concerns as Councillor Hanson. This is for-profit student housing. I have to say that this application has come to us in a very unusual way. When developers are applying within our OCP for properties that they have purchased, they go through a very significant process with staff, and we're at the rezoning part. That's when they come to us. I in 30 years have not experienced this type of approach, where in 4 months we are looking at doubling our FSR. The pro forma is indicating that there's no significant lift on the property, so no affordability, with a staff presentation identifying the significant challenges that do not line up with our community plan, albeit the necessity and the need to talk about student housing, and the comment that we don't have policies in this regard. I would love council and the community, CAP University, to have those discussions, to create those policies, to look at future housing on the campus, which is where it needs to be, not impacting our utility corridors and an existing OCP that has been in place since 2015 with challenges to our green spine and access in and out of this community. I have letter after letter after letter after letter coming to me on a regular basis, asking me why retaining walls that are 100 feet long and 3 feet high are taking 2.5 years to process in this municipality. I have people waiting for 5 years to be able to build a coach house in their backyard. I have small companies and contractors trying to get the simplest of things done to support the vision of our council, which is to look after affordability and multi-generational housing, and we are turning them away or telling them, just, you're going to have to wait again, because we are unable to expediently process your application without dozens of rewrites and questions and more information and stormwater management plan, and the list goes on. And now I'm being asked to have my staff take up time, with great respect, trying to walk through the concerns that we've already presented in December in regards to this unusual approach to this application, and spend more time trying to tick off these boxes, which many seem untickable. I need to, almost every application that comes into the OCP, there's an amendment. This one's a doozy. This is double the density. I have a responsibility to allow existing direction and policies within council to actually move forward in a timely manner so business can carry on. That's not happening with many current applications that are in front of us, Mayor Little. It is a significant and serious concern with some of the presentations that we've heard tonight and many of the letters that continue to come in regards to processing an application. I'll take my other 2 minutes, please. So I cannot, in good faith and with the respect of the application, continue on in this direction. I think that the existing perspective that we find in regards to the decline in students because of federal government initiatives. The cost of housing has gone down because of the short-term rental policies that the provincial government has put in place. We really do not understand clarity of data in regards to what is available. We have no guarantee that this housing will even be built once zoned. Our experience tells us that you can rezone and you can wait years. Properties can be flipped multiple times. The projects may not go forward within 10 years. We have seen that happen. So this idea that we're going to be able to address all of these issues, I don't believe is what's going to happen. I do not believe that we have the ability to put valuable staff time after something that is so outside of the OCP and outside of the Lower Lynn concept plan. And the challenges of trying to find even a small return on affordable student housing within this project is not a reality. And so I think that I was going to actually move option 3, that we do not support this OCP amendment, because I am very concerned about the residents that are in this community right now wanting to move forward. And I feel that we do not have the capacity nor the resources to address their issues. And yet we are giving indication to this project that we will put resources into them. And for that, I will not be supporting this motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Beck.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I have been supportive of this project since I first heard about it. It is a unique project, and I feel like we're not treating it as such. We know that there is a strong demand for student housing. We heard it tonight from Ms. Wharton from Capilano University that over 60% of students commute, some as much as 3 hours every day to get to the campus here in North Vancouver. And we know that they often commute across that bridge or because there's simply not enough options for them here to live. I think that there are issues that we want to continue to work with the applicant on, but I feel like they have address some of these issues, and those issues could be addressed through a normal process like every other rezoning, that they would come for first reading. We would have a proper public hearing where we could formally hear from the public, and those issues could be addressed. But you know, I think
oh my
this
God,
site
can we get over this
is the right
already?
location for student housing of this sort, which again, we haven't seen this type of project be built in the district, but it's located within the Lynn Creek Town Center, which is one of the areas that's identified for significant growth and change over time. And while this proposal does exceed the current policy, I don't think it's entirely out of character with where this neighborhood is heading in the long term. I also want to address the idea that this might somehow create a broad precedent for this level of density elsewhere in the district, because it would not. What we're looking at here, again, is a unique purpose-built student housing project, which we've not seen before. I think there are real benefits to housing students closer to the campus, as I've highlighted, and as the speaker did tonight. The amount of commuting and the pressure that puts on our transportation network each and every day could help be alleviated to some degree by providing the sort of housing that would work for a lot of the students. It would also take and free up some of the existing rental stock for students who may be renting other housing in the community. Not to mention the support that it would potentially provide local businesses and employers by having that many young people living in the heart of a town center. Think of the vibrancy that might come from that. And certainly that's a town center like all of our newer town centers especially could benefit from. So in my view, there are still issues, just like any project at a stage, you know, that's this early on, there's going to be issues need to be worked out. But I think we address those through a formal process, not asking this applicant to keep coming back time and time again in this not real process. They're just looking for some certainty, just like the person that's trying to build their retaining wall or their coach house. So The sort of certainty I would give them is let's proceed as is, so that they can come back through a formal process. There's a significant need for student housing on the North Shore. We've heard that. We've all said we support student housing, and yet we're all going to cause more delay by the sort of vote that may be cast tonight. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beck. Next, I have Councillor Pope.
Thank you very much. I want to start actually, if I have a question, point of clarity that I'd like to ask the proponent, if that's possible. Can I?
Can I have you ask staff first, and if they don't have an answer, they can request an assist from the applicant. Is that okay?
Yes. There was some mention tonight about in regards to the affordability piece. And I didn't really understand what was being committed or what was being proposed by the proponent.
We have a staff response, or would they like assistance from the applicant?
Maybe staff will, through your worship, to Councillor Pope, maybe staff will start with an answer, and if that's not suffice, we can move on to the applicant. So what we understand the applicant is proposing is market rate rental housing, a purpose-built for students, and because what they're stating is because of square footage of the micro and nano units are relatively small, the full rent as a result of that is more affordable to an individual student. But based on square footage basis, it's actually not is market rate. And I will also say that the pro forma shows that the project is not able to achieve the below market rental as requested by council. So I think that's the general, the two sides to the question.
Yeah, and there was more that they mentioned tonight, that something that was in the works.
Ms. Gilbert, if you want to come up, I'll just add my 2 cents in just a little bit before. The other challenge they have with it is that if they don't fill it by a certain date, they're going to have to sharpen their pencil to fill it. Otherwise, rather than leaving units empty through the school year. And so it is a sub-market, but it will have some responsive, they'd probably rather lower the price to fill a unit rather than sit with it empty. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's the ballpark, I think,
Perhaps
for
you
that.
could address
proposal.
that too.
Thank you for the question through you, your worship, and to you, Councillor Pope. It's not just a mechanism of the size of the unit, the junior studio or the studio. We also have 2 and 3 bedrooms. And what that does is it provides a range of affordability depending on the student. If they want a roommate, if they don't, if they want their own self-contained unit, they can go through their range of affordability. It is market, however, because of the inclusivity of the actual unit, it also includes furniture, utilities, chattels, which means your utensils, your cutlery, your dishes, everything else. All of the amenities, this entire building has significant amount of amenities, very different than a traditional rental and condo strata. So it has co-work space, space for individual study. It's got a gym that replaces your gym membership. It has a spa and wellness room on the roof. It's got outdoor amenity, indoor amenity, and it also has about 10% of the overall GFA is amenity space, which typically isn't included in a condo strata. And so all of those inclusions bring it to 29% cheaper in today's dollars than what is on a purpose-built rental building right now available in the district. So that inherent affordability is built in from the entire model itself, not just on a per square footage basis. When we look at students, it's predictability in what they can pay. So it's a monthly rent with all of that included. We don't do things on a per square footage basis like a condo where you're buying a per square footage. It's a monthly amount in terms of what can be afforded. The other piece that I brought up tonight is that, and I don't want to put words in Carrie's mouth, but on the specific first-year student building that's coming online in this summer, there has been a fundraise specific for bursaries and subsidies for housing for students through Capilano. I cannot stress enough that we are partners of Capilano University, and so all of those programs, that student life as well as operations, will be embedded with Capilano University as well. So those subsidies, those bursaries will also be available to students because we are solely for the use of Capilano University students.
Let's get to the vote.
So would there be some sort of, is Forum prepared to provide some sort of grant or bursary program for students going into this new building?
In partnership
for low-income students?
In partnership with Capilano, we will put something together once this building is completed to have those types of subsidies and bursaries for those students as well, the same way that they're providing it for their first year new building this summer that's going to be brought online.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Hanson. Oh, sorry.
I think I want to make some comments.
Oh, yeah,
At
please.
this point. So, to me, this is very convincing about the affordability piece. If it's coming in that much lower than your average studios out there, it includes all of these, the amenities, the internet, the furniture, and everything else that's going into it. That is, and it makes an enormous difference to a student. And if you're also going to be committing to helping out low-income students with a bursary, then that for me alleviates my concerns about affordability. I think when it's all factored in, it certainly is more affordable than typical studio units on the North Shore, and your research has shown that. I also want to address this issue of density. This project cannot be compared to a conventional rental building and the OCP density caps that we have for regular housing developments. They're apples and oranges. This is a new model of housing, 448 beds only for students. Student housing is a community amenity. So these units are significantly smaller. And I think that most of us on council, when we looked at the show suite, display suite, were really impressed by how fabulous these tiny units look. And other municipalities, including City of Vancouver, Burnaby, Surrey, have specific policies for student housing that allow for higher density. So if council approves this to move forward to first reading, it does not need to be precedent setting in terms of density for all buildings. There should be no fear that approving this highly specialized student housing will then open the floodgates to developers wanting to have that kind of density in a regular rental. It's just not going to happen. Council can view this as a clear and justified exception because it directly addresses a stated and demonstrated need for student housing. So with some of these factors in mind, I would like to propose an amendment, a friendly amendment, I think, to the staff recommendation that you have moved and that has been seconded. Can you turn off my time for this? And I'm doing it on the fly here, so maybe you can help me out. I would like to see that we remove number 1, because I do believe that the below market rental housing, the question of affordability has been responded to. And I feel confident that it will be affordable. I would also like to see some of these housekeeping items taken off the table because there is a matter of urgency here, as was outlined. And I just want to say that Cap, you also mentioned this matter of urgency of getting this housing in.
To assist, can I get you to be specific about which lines you want to remove?
So I would say the other types of housekeeping items that are the normal part of the procedural that goes on between when developers are going through processes with the district. So that would include setbacks and land dedications, architectural design, off-site servicing and infrastructure upgrades. I would like to see all of those taken off.
Okay, so just to be clear on the amendment, then your amendment would be to withdraw items 1, 4, 6, and 7 from the list.
I would also remove item 3. So 1, 3, 4, 6, 7.
Okay, I did say that council members could propose removing pieces, even though it's a lot more significant I was anticipating. Is there a seconder for the removal of 1, 3, 4, 6, and 7? Second by Councillor Back. Okay, further discussion on specific to the removal of those items, please. Councillor, it's your motion, so Councillor Pope, you can speak first, then Councillor Back, and then we'll see if other members of council want to speak specifically to that amendment.
Okay. Specifically to the amendment, I think it is a matter of, we know that we need student housing in North Vancouver. We know it needs to be built. We know that Capilano University, as many as and other universities, are hurting right now because of the lack of foreign students. They need to do everything they can to attract students, and they have stated there is a critical need to have
specifically to the amendment.
The housing, but that the amendment I think is necessary.
We'll get back to the main motion to talk about the broader issues, but just specifically on 1, 3, 4, 6, and 7.
The amendment I think is necessary because it is going to speed up the process with staff to get this moved back to a first reading.
Thank you very much. Councillor Back on the amendment.
Thank you, Mayor Little. In terms of the amendment, I think these 5 issues could help to move the project along. They could all be addressed by moving this to first reading. In terms of the number 1, the affordability of this project is largely addressed through all of the things that are included. We're comparing it to a traditional market rental project, which it isn't, based on all of the things that are included, which you don't get in a typical development. In terms of vehicle access and the items listed there and under point number 3, again, I think these can be addressed through the process, even once we move to first reading. And I think the same can be said for design, setbacks, et cetera. So again, just trying to simplify the list based on some of the comments that I'm hearing here.
Okay, thank you. We don't do a lot of amendments, so we will just remind council that it's 2-minute speaking time for amendments. Councillor Forbes.
Which motion are we on? Just
on the amendments. 1, 3. Oh, so you were for the regular list? Okay. Is anybody else wishing to speak to the amendments? Councillor Hanson? Okay. Go ahead. 2 minutes.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm not of the same mind on the affordability issue as has been spoken by others. I would not vote for an amendment that removes that issue, which I think is a critical consideration moving this project forward from consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the amendment? Councillor Ma.
I know it's been brought up, but I just want further clarification. In the report, it talks about the pro forma and that there was, if I understood correctly, there was no lift in land value that could support affordability, so reduced prices. Is that correct? So my question is, there's like significant increase in density and height. So those two don't really traditionally jive with me. So You know, if this is different, help me to understand this, because,
May I press you to comment on the amendment?
well, I'm asking for clarification before I can say to remove that. That's my,
None of the amendments have to do with the OCP, FSR on the project.
no, but I'm just trying to understand that there's no additional lift from the additional FSR and height.
Okay.
So is it a moot point? I would still like to see some affordability, but
If I can just add a little bit of color on what Councillor Ma is suggesting. So sometimes when municipalities go over and above the OCP level on a market project, there's an uplift with a community amenity contribution back to the community. But it's usually based on the value of the uplift. And so in this case, because it's all going to be student housing, it's viewed as being a zero value uplift. Therefore, it wouldn't produce those additional CAC dollars, which the council could direct into supporting projects. Is that a fair assessment of what you're looking for? Councillor Maz, a comment on that?
yes.
Okay. Can we have a comment from staff about the effect on the lift with this use?
Yeah, through your worship, I would say that's a correct assessment of the situation. So the CAC analysis is market sensitive, and right now the market is quite soft, and purpose-built rental building already does not yield the same kind of land lift as a traditional residential development or other type of a higher and best use. But particularly student rental, I think there are some unique factors coming to play, including the tenure, which is for students, and then the potential operating costs of the building. So all this, I know it sounds a little bit shocking that with such significant land lift, we're actually not density increase, we're not looking at a significant land lift.
Thank you. Additional comments, Mr. Milburn?
I'd also note that the negotiations that occur with respect to CACs are essentially a voluntary contribution. They're secured by way of rezoning, but the applicant is essentially in any CAC negotiation proposing to offer mitigating solutions to issues raised through the development, whether that be offsite works or on-site amenities to address demand. So it's a voluntary discussion and negotiation at the end of the day. Thank you.
Back to the amendment, please.
Well, I still want some clarification, if I may, if you can indulge me. If we talk about architectural design, at this point, has the ADP reviewed this design? Any preliminary thoughts from the ADP? Especially about this L shape, which it could be X shape for all I care, to be honest, but.
That's why you're not an ADP.
Yeah.
Lindsay.
The advisory design panel has reviewed the proposal, and in their deliberation, they supported the L-shaped building, but
Oh, you kicked me out. All right, I'm bouncing. It's bedtime, and we're not getting anywhere tonight. You have to watch any of this? Thank you. I'm not expecting many people did, but you know what? I'm here for it. So have a good one, everybody. Thanks for your time. And yeah, I didn't have a lot of commentary to add tonight because there was a lot of people talking, not a lot of room for me to get a couple words in edgewise. So